Hello, greetings everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about algorithms. Now, seeing as how I am from the internet, of the internet, a denizen hereto thereof, algorithms are one of my specialities. I've been poking and prodding and finding ways to manipulate social media algorithms now for the better part of a decade. Let's be honest here, okay? My face, which is one that was built for radio, my voice, which sounds like gravel rolling down a hill, and my awesome, sparkling personality that inspires people with happiness and joy, yeah, none of these are reasons that I've managed to stick around in the social media realm for a decade. It's because I understand how to manipulate an algorithm. It's not that hard. You don't even need to know the algorithm to know how to find ways to manipulate it to benefit you. And out in the real world, beyond social media, algorithms are becoming more and more commonplace, and they're having more and more of a direct effect on people. And unlike social media algorithms, these are algorithms that somebody of my ilk can't really poke and prod and manipulate. So let me run through this. And I'm probably going to surprise you at least a couple of times, because even I was a little surprised with all the stuff I dug up here. Here we go. Let's start with the basics. Every minute, machines are shaping somebody's future as software decides which hospital patients should get extra monitoring or which credit card applicants get a thumbs down. The hope was that programs combining objective criteria and mountains of data could be more efficient than humans while sidestepping their subjectivity and bias. It hasn't worked out that way. Instead, the hospital program was found to underestimate the needs of Black patients, and the credit card software is being investigated after complaints that it discriminated against women. Stunner, right? Algorithms, the logic at the heart of such programs, can replicate and even amplify the prejudices of those who create them. So what is an algorithm? An algorithm is a formula for processing information or performing a task. Arranging names in alphabetical order is a kind of algorithm. So is a recipe for making chocolate chip cookies, but they're usually far more complicated. Companies such as Facebook and Alphabet, which is Google, have spent billions of dollars developing the algorithms they use to sort through oceans of information and zealously guard the secrets of their software. So Facebook is really where my bread is buttered. I know, it's boomer book, everybody laughs, but it's where all the advertising is, it's where all the money is. And if you work in social media, you eventually have to work on or adjacent to Facebook. You just have to. Maybe 10 years from now that won't be the case, but now it is. Now I'm at the point where if you give me a piece of content, you tell me what you're going to post, and I go and I look at your page, your performance for the last few days and some of the stats, I can tell you with relative certainty how many shares you're going to get and how many engagements you're going to get off of that piece of content in the first 24 hours. But as their algorithm runs a piece of software that is front-facing, it's a lot easier to judge. However, more and more, algorithms are being implemented into other factors of life, in financing, in housing, in sales, in credit. And these algorithms, not only can you not see behind the curtain, but you really can't kick and poke at them from the front end and then get the response back so that you can figure out how they're working. And when you really start to think about that, this gets incredibly creepy very quickly. So how does bias creep into algorithms? Well, in any number of ways. People making a program can introduce biases, or the algorithms can learn bad behavior from training data before launch or from users afterward, causing results to warp over time. Software engineers can inadvertently discriminate against people. Facebook was embarrassed in 2015 when some Native Americans were blocked from signing up for accounts because their names, including Lance Brown Eyes and Dana Lone Hill, were judged fake by their algorithm. And Amazon ran into problems when an AI system it was testing to screen job applicants taught itself to weed out women. In other cases, algorithms may have been trained on too narrow of a slice of reality. An algorithm is only as good as a person and a program that wrote it. And that program was written by a person as well. So at some point, even though algorithms are used to automate a lot of processes, they're still programmed by people, and thus they are still prone to the same mistakes, biases, lapses of judgment that human beings are. So how is representation a problem with algorithms? Insufficiently diverse data sets can cause biased outcomes, as when facial recognition programs trained on too few images of people with darker skin make more errors when classifying non-white users. An MIT study found that inadequate sample diversity undermined recognition systems from IBM, Microsoft, and Face++. Darker-skinned women were the most misclassified group, with error rates around 35%, compared with the maximum error rate for lighter-skinned men of less than 1%. And before all you racist nutbags start talking about, oh, well, it must be because it's bad lighting and they're black, so the computer can't make them out. No, that's not the case. It's that the people who program these algorithms live in such a white sphere and a white circle that every place that they took sample footage from to run and test and train and develop their algorithm was taken from places that were majoritarily white. Ergo, the data set was majoritarily white. Ergo, most of the sampling and modeling was taken from white people. So when all of a sudden these systems were inundated with 40, 50, 60% of users being black or dark-skinned, the algorithm literally turned into Arnold Schwarzenegger in Total Recall trying to go through the airport going, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and then its head exploded. So how else do algorithms go wrong? One other way is through misleading proxy data. The term refers to the way algorithms use scattered bits of data to characterize people. For instance, it's illegal in the US to make hiring or lending decisions based on race, gender, age, or sexual orientation. But there are proxies for these attributes in big data sets. The music you stream on YouTube suggests your age, while membership in a sorority gives away your gender. Your address may hint at your racial or ethnic heritage. Okay, so consider online job finding services, which researchers have shown are less likely to refer women and people of color for high-paying positions because those job seekers don't match the typical profile of people in those jobs who are mostly white men. I know, y'all are shocked, right? I know, just take a moment, breathe. Okay, we can move on now. Systems like these use a technique called predictive modeling that makes inference from historic patterns of data. Now, predictive modeling is also the same bullshit they used when they created all of the policing policies around broken windows, which is that if you arrest people for minor infractions, who are more than likely going to commit infractions anyway, well then, you don't have to arrest them after they commit a heinous infraction. And that's why they started shaking people down to get them on simple drug possession or unpaid tickets or shit like that. Because there was an algorithm that said if your skin tone was a specific color and you lived in a specific zip code and you were of a specific age, well, predictive modeling says that you are of the group of society most likely to kill or rape or murder or rob. So therefore, this algorithm using predictive modeling is going to punitively punish all people who possibly fit within that data set, just to be sure that some of them don't become people of a more violent offending data set down the road. Predictive modeling. It's how you view humanity, only without the humanity. Predictive modeling can go astray when data is inaccurate or misused. One study found that systems that used algorithms to decide who got loans were 40% less discriminatory than face-to-face interactions, but still charged higher interest rates to Black and Latino borrowers than was justified by their risk of default. It replicated one form of unethical price gouging by charging higher rates to customers who lived in areas where people had fewer opportunities to shop around for better deals than people who lived elsewhere. Oh, see, algorithms, which are programmed by capitalists and paid for by capitalists, can still manage to find a way to extract the maximum amount of money from the poorest people. And again, I'm going to repeat this ad nauseum on this stream, being poor is one of the most expensive things anybody can do. I know that, and I'm not even an algorithm. Now, previously, we discussed how there's been an outcry about the use of algorithms by the people who literally program and implement those algorithms at Facebook and Google. This, however, is a completely different angle and a totally separate issue from that one, even though the two have some overlap. It turns out that it's lawyers who are discovering what the issue is on the front end to the end users and are fighting extremely hard against it to sort of build a national coalition to push back against algorithms and how they treat people who live at the margin, i.e. poor people, people of color, non-binary people, you know, the ones that the generic white majority, more often than not, shit on. Yeah, hold on to your hats. That's how crazy this one is, gang. It's actual lawyers doing the good work. Credit scores have been used for decades to assess consumer credit worthiness, but their scope is far greater now that they are powered by algorithms. Not only do they consider vastly more data in both volume and type, but they increasingly affect whether you can buy a car, rent an apartment, or even get a full-time job. Wait, hold on here. You're telling me my ability to get a full-time job isn't solely based on whether or not I'm lazy and I want to pull myself up on my bootstraps? Oh, you mean if I have a bad credit score, I can't get a good job? But what about my bootstraps? Oh, really? That's not a thing in our new digital world? It's almost like being from the internet. I already knew that shit, which is why I laugh at all you idiotic bootstrap people. Credit scoring algorithms are not the only ones that affect people's economic well-being and access to basic services. Algorithms now decide which children enter foster care, which patients receive medical care, which families get access to stable housing. Those of us with means can pass our lives unaware of any of this. But for low-income individuals, the rapid growth and adoption of automated decision-making systems has created a hidden web of interlocking traps. Now, this is becoming a thing because, much like everything else, government is also being automated, or at least the parts that deal with the pores, because there are more pores than anybody else. So instead of having thousands of government employees who have to deal with those wretched pores, all you need to do is just get a couple algorithms in a computer terminal. And now you got fucking Skynet pretty much deciding what the bottom 40% of America gets to do for a living, where they get to live, and if they even get to have a bank account. Yay, Skynet is active. On the credit reporting side, the growth of algorithms has been driven by the proliferation of data, which is easier than ever to collect and share. Credit reports aren't new, but these days their footprint is far more expansive. Consumer reporting agencies include credit bureaus, tenant screening companies, and even check verification services. They amass the information from a wide range of sources like public records, social media, web browsing, banking activity, app usage, and more. The algorithms then assign people worthiness scores, which figure heavily into background checks performed by lenders, employers, landlords, and even schools. Now, you know what's funny? If you talk to the people on the right, and we always hear this constant screaming of, "This is America, we need to be free. This ain't fucking commie China. Why do you want America to be like commie China?" Yeah, well, guess who else has credit worthiness scores and social worthiness scores and sifts an assload of data on individuals to determine if they are a potential threat to a capitalist economic system or to the government itself? Anybody want to guess? This is the same exact fucking thing, only it's in a country where the flag is red, white, and blue instead of red and yellow, so somehow that makes this star-spangled awesome. Now, about that programmer over at Google. One of the most familiar forms of AI is the Google algorithm and the order in which it presents search results. Google has an 88% market share of internet searches, and the Google homepage is the most visited page on the entire internet. How it determines its search results is hugely influential, but completely opaque to users. Earlier this month, one of Google's lead researchers on AI ethics and bias abruptly left the company. She says she was fired after an internal email sent to colleagues about racial discrimination and toxic work conditions at Google, while senior management maintained she resigned over the publication of a research paper. It seems that she put her name on a paper flagging the risks of bias in large language models, the kind used by Google. The paper argued such language models could hurt marginalized communities. She'd previously shown that facial recognition technology was highly inaccurate for Black people. Google's response rapidly stirred unrest amongst Google's workforce, with many of her colleagues supporting her account of views. Further annoying her coworkers and academic sympathizers was the perceived attempt to muzzle unwelcome research findings, compromising the perception of any research published by in-house researchers. Here are a few more examples of how algorithms can recycle and reinforce existing prejudices. Automated resume scanning systems have been found to discriminate against African American names, graduates of women's colleges, and even the word women in a job application. Credit scoring AI that can cut people off from public benefits, such as healthcare, unemployment, and child support, has been found to penalize low-income individuals. So what to make of all of this? Well, algorithms, much like all other systems on the face of the planet, will always benefit the people who program them and the people who most resemble the people who program them. So before any of you go all in on saying you want everything computerized and everything automated, just remember, computerized and automated means it has the same biases as the person who programmed it, only without the ability to ask to speak to the algorithm's manager. That's what I got, everybody. My name's James. I'm from the internet and I'm out. Peace.